A new expansion for Hearts of Iron 4 has been announced. It's called Arms Against Tyranny, and it will focus the Nordic nations as well as Finland to get new, brand new, up-to-date focus trees. The north of Europe is now fully focus treed out. Well, after this expansion anyway. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a deep dive on the screenshots on the Steam page and analyze the new features they're implementing now with fully implemented graphics and not placeholder graphics, so we can have a better look and see if they've changed from the original dev diaries and inspect them more thoroughly to kind of maybe fully understand how these mechanics work. In summary, focus trees, Finland, Sweden, Norway, and most interestingly, I think Denmark. In Denmark, because of its history, because it's a nation that's obviously been around a really long time. It had full control of Norway and Sweden at one point. Well, I suppose it had control of all Scandinavia at one point because Sweden had control of Finland, didn't it? So obviously a lot of history behind Denmark. And also Denmark's activity in the war was incredibly brief. And how will that be recreated? A historical path of Denmark is going to be very interesting. I don't know. Denmark excites me of all the countries. Then maybe Sweden, then Finland. And to a certain degree, Norway is kind of interesting. The idea of defending against the Germans and preparing to defend against the Germans starting in 1936. I think that'd be kind of cool. So the three main features, as two actually. The first feature is the introduction of military industrial organizations, MIOs. So MIOs work like research and production here. So let's just say a tank designer will be a MIO. And not only will you be able to assign it to your nation, but simultaneously when you go into production of that said tank, you'll be able to assign the MIO onto it to gain the bonuses what the MIO does. I believe there'll be a limited amount of military factories you can assign depending on certain attributes. And there'll be an extra tab at the top here that will allow you to improve your MIO by investing XP into it. Or maybe political power. We don't really flush out all the details of what required of it, but with that you can improve MIOs to give you bigger bonuses to allow you to make better equipment overall, I suppose. So instead of making a universal bonus from one of these that affects all aircraft from their point on, it now is exclusive to a certain level of production, like a limited amount, varying depending on the industrial designer, and it can be improved upon further with extra bonuses, choosing different selection paths you want to go down. The next feature is an international market, which allows you to put your arms that you've already constructed onto a market to be sold to other faction members or to other nations you have market access to, which will be a dialogue option, a bit similar to license production. So it'll be another button here. And with this button, you have access to open the market between the two nations if you're not already in a faction. And that'll allow you to spend your civilian factories to purchase weapons or place equipment onto the market for other people to purchase off you. When this feature was introduced, this one, the international market, I had a sneaky suspicion this was going to be a Sweden-themed expansion. I didn't want to say it out loud because I had more hints from Paradox people, so I didn't want to do the big reveal earlier and step on their feet. And the reason why I thought Sweden is because Sweden has always been said to be the nation who didn't participate in World War II directly, but it kind of participated indirectly by selling steel to the Germans as well as arms to the Finns, for instance. And with that as well, some smaller updates, changing how military divisions are designed, as well as customization of special forces, divisional specializations, and more. I presume these are going to be soft reworks and not major overhauls, but it's really interesting to see that support companies are going to get updated, special forces too, the way divisions are created, and divisional specializations makes me believe there's going to be more support companies that allow you to, let's say, get bonuses in different train types. I mean, that's just a complete guess. I know I made a video on that, and it was just a guess at the time, but the direction we're going at the moment, looking at the finished focus tree, that seems to be where we're going. And of course, with every expansion, you get new art, new music, and new 3D models to be a part of the game. Wow! Let's take a dive into the screenshots. Let's start off with this one. Oh my goodness, there's so much going on here. The bottom right and the top right, there's nothing particularly new here. I'm looking for bits on the map that can kind of stand out and show different in-game mechanics. This is all pretty much the same. XP is the same. So here we have buy equipment. So Sweden is in the same market as Germany. And I presume Sweden has the ability to purchase this equipment off Germany. But surprisingly, it also looks like, oh, Britain's here as well, British trains. So are they specifically buying equipment off the market? In this case, Sweden is buying Belgium trucks and Belgium guns. And it says that the cost of this is like a larger number than we first envisioned. I have a feeling this is going to work like construction. I think they've changed the way it originally was going to work. They had some pre-calculated idea of what a certain cost would be based on civilian factories, which is still represented here. So the idea is here is you request from Belgium, you want to purchase this equipment, how much you're going to pay, and this will result in the cost, and this will result in 5 deliveries. See, it's really hard to know how this is going to work without actually getting your hands on it. But it's interesting to see how now the cost is a larger number than I first envisioned. That kind of tells me that maybe you're investing in your civilian factories towards like construction, because one civilian factory is like 1 point of construction per day. So these could represent as points in game. Once again, lots of speculation here, guys. We don't really know until we get the hands on this, but it's kind of interesting to see what these numbers represent and what they could actually be. But it looks to me like this is what's happening. Sweden is purchasing equipment off Belgium, of all nations. Belgium. Next up, we have Sweden again selling equipment to the market. So the way it works is you add equipment to the market with the sell button here. And these are all the equipment that currently being sold by Sweden, I presume. So in this case, Sweden has access to Swedish support equipment. That makes sense. And access to Finnish guns. And he's putting these guns onto the market, and they'll be able to trade. Any nation is able to buy this equipment off Sweden if they're sharing the same market or sharing the same faction. And it also says there's a price here, price normal. So you can adjust the price to say if you want to pay more or less for this said item. So for instance, if there's a bunch of equipment you just want to get rid of, which is amazing, by the way, get rid of old equipment that you don't want anymore, you can put the price really low and let anyone steal it off you. A lot of people in the forums did suggest that why can't I put it on the market for free? But then technically it's Lend-Lease, isn't it? But then you can only send Lend-Lease at war. Well, this can be done whilst at peace. Of course, I've mentioned this feature, and I think the biggest fear I've got with this feature is the AI will not participate in it as well as I would like. End result of this will be this kind of the system that is kind of strictly only for MP, which people use license for the same exact reason. There's probably gonna be balancing issues to begin with, where certain items are incredibly costly on the market, and you can use those to boost your economy quite early game. Because it looks at this, look at the support equipment. 100 support equipment is the equivalent of 1,200 cost, where 200 pre-war guns equates to 258. Once again, this system is going to be make or break completely down to if Paradox implement the AI well enough. If the AI is participating in this system, then amazing. Because it reminds me of the early days of Lend-Lease. Can you remember in Together for Victory? I know it was a long time ago. When they first released this, I think it was about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. The Lend-Lease system, the AI would never participate in it. And if you were Britain, and so you were playing as the Commonwealth nation and you wanted equipment off Britain, they would say yes to it, but then the next day instantly cancel it. The AI implementation was a little bit flaky to begin with. At least now it's a little bit more consistent, even though it is still a little bit exploity. Come on, you know the Lend-Lease exploit, boys. And to be fair, listen, if there is an exploit available, I will try my very best to let you guys know about it, okay? Okay, yeah, agreed. Next up, we have, once again, another Sweden. So it looks like Sweden is in the same market as Germany, France, and Britain. So the first thing, as I just said, you need to be in a market together. So they're either in a market or there's a really strange alternative alt history world where Sweden, Germany, France, and the UK are all in a faction together. I think that would be probably a little bit of a reach. So what they've done is they've selected buy equipment, and they've only filtered for tanks. So these are the only tanks that are available on the market. I presume this is the cost per tank. 11.4 for the Panzer 1, 10.2 for the light tank Mark 4, and 15.3 for the basic light tank, just the H35. But you can see as well here, this requires 0.01 convoys for the shipment of this. And of course, that's to reflect that there's no land connection between the capital of Britain and Sweden, where there's a land connection with France through Denmark and Germany. And of course, there's a connection to Germany through Denmark. The bit that I don't quite get is this one, this number here, this 36 and 17. Is it individually talking about how many units are available of this set equipment that you can actually purchase? I don't know. I'm just taking a guess. Really good question in the chat here. Would trade lords also affect your equipment sale? Wow, that's a good question. Would they be adjusting trade laws to take into account these changes? That's a good question. That is a good question. So what would happen is if you clicked on the Panzer one here, you'd come to this screen, and this is a purchase draft. And I presume after when you send this draft, the nation in question would have to accept it. As you can see, 11.4 for the Panzer A, and the Panzer 1A is here with 36 as well. So it's the same save game, isn't it? And with this, it says the initial cost, the amount of deliveries, and also you specify how many factories you want to add into it. So basically, you're not paying a price. Oh, I think I get it. You're not paying a set price for the tanks. You're basically investing as many civilian factories as they can give you back in return. So the maximum amount you can purchase, I guess, per month is 36 models of light tank. And you would assign the amount of factories in question. So in this case, if you were to go over the initial cost, you couldn't assign any more civilian factories to it. Once again, this system looks complex. I know when you get in game, this is nowhere near as complex as it's going to be. So if you were to assign one civilian factory, you would need multiple deliveries to get the full 36. I presume that's how it's going to work. Once again, a lot of guesswork here. We don't know how it's going to work. We've not played it yet. We're just working what we've got. All right, and the very final screenshot is this one. So Sweden has asked Czechoslovakia to purchase something. Our offer of purchase offer was accepted by Czechoslovakia. So I presume we're buying something off Czechoslovakia. And it says here, buying from Czechoslovakia, the amount that we're paying is 1 civilian factory per month. It's 0 of 1 delivery. So that means that the initial order, how many we want, will be fulfilled in 1 shipment's time. And the delivery will take 30 days to actually arrive. So very similar to Lend Leasing. These other bars here are a little bit confusing. I'm presuming the top bar is the percentage of the shipment complete. So I would presume that when you've got your first shipment, because it's only 1 of 1, it would go all the way to the right and complete and cancel and automatically go out before you can make another purchase request. And this bottom one here is the overall cost. So if you were to assign more civilian factories, you can get more of that delivery of that said equipment. And I presume, yeah, once again, all speculating. I'm just taking a complete shot in the dark here. The top one could replay convoy reinforcements. Oh, so the bottom one could be the fulfillment of the order complete, and the top one could reflect how many convoys are required to make the shipment. But there's a land connection with Germany, selling to Germany, so why would there be supply even required in that case? But maybe it's fulfillment of the order. Maybe in this case, if there are not enough of that said equipment being produced, because you're not manufacturing enough of them. To be honest, I'm leaning more towards this being the purchase, the investment of civilian factories. So if you were to have this all the way to the right, it would tell me that you are doing the full purchase for the full amount with enough civilian factories. But this top one is the complete fulfillment of the order. I don't know. I'm just taking a guess here. That's the best that we've got. It's interesting to see that all the screenshots are around the market. It's all about the international market. And what's surprisingly too is, oh, here we go. I was about to say that there's not a new button for this, but it is. It's the diplomatic map mode, the one that nobody uses. Trust me, no one clicks this. So diplomacy, and then at the bottom you can either open logistics or diplomacy and open country list. How often do you even look at this? The only reason you ever look at this is you want to check who are major powers, don't you? To know who you've got to knock out in the war. If you're in a mid-war situation, you need to get a peace conference. I don't think I've gone in here for anything else other than major powers. I feel like in a strange way, this reminds me of how like Hearts of Iron 2 and Hearts of Iron 3, where I feel like you went into these menus more frequently. I'm glad that this tab of diplomacy now is going to be used more frequently because it's how international markets works. It's the first time seeing that menu. Well, there you go. There you go. And that's how frequently you need to look into this because, well, you don't. The balance between building your own industry and buying off other bigger nations is going to be interesting, especially with civilian factories. Even the mid to major powers like Sweden may only be able to build 1 row of factories. It's going to be really interesting to see if you were to, let's say, in 936, rush towards a really advanced plane model or rush towards a really advanced tank model and then have the AI purchase them off you on your market and you're just a direct arms dealer. That would be so unbelievably awesome. But I don't know, there's some part of me that says to me that the AI isn't going to fully use these mechanics as they would and should. And that actually is the part of this DLC that worries me the most, actually. These features are great on paper and probably work really well in multiplayer. In fact, no, to be truthful, in multiplayer, they're going to love this system. But in single player, it's all going to come down to the AI. Is the AI going to take advantage of these mechanics as much as they actually should? And my instincts are going to tell me the way Lend-Lease was implemented and the way licensing currently works, it's probably not going to be. It's going to require a lot of balancing and a lot of tweaks. They're either going to go two ways. One, it's going to be too OP when they release it, or it's going to be a system that AI uses, but in a really flaky way, a bit like Lend-Lease, where it used to cancel all the time, for instance. And if we've got any questions about the new expansions, we can go over those right now. Can you buy ships? No. It looks like you can buy convoys and maybe landing craft. Hence the reason why there's an anchor icon. Oh, the anchor icon's been removed. Oh, it was here. So the answer is no. You can't do anything to do with Navy now. No Navy stuff at all. Because in the original dev diary, the placeholder graphics had an anchor icon here to filter out ship purchases. And I presumed it was just going to be convoys and landing craft. But it looks like they've just chosen against that completely. But once again, this might not be a final screenshot. It may change for the final release. So who knows? It's up to speculation, really. But by the looks of things in these early screenshots, it doesn't look like you're going to have the ability to sell any kind of naval vessels in any way, shape, and form. Do we know when this is coming out? Autumn. Can you buy captured equipment? I presume so, yes. Because on this screenshot here, you can see that Sweden is adding equipment to the market that's not their own. This support equipment is, but this is Finnish guns. They're adding stolen Finnish guns to the market. I mean, it says add to market, selling stuff to the market, right? Yeah. So I'm not misinterpreting that. They're not buying Finnish guns. They're selling them. So yeah, it looks to me like a lot of foreign equipment can be sold. Would the winter equipment be available to all nations or just Finland? Well, it's a support company that you gain through national focus. So my instincts are telling me no. It's going to be a Sweden only thing that. But it did say on the Steam page that they're going to be updating support companies and whatnot. So they might add some new ones. Who knows? One of the coolest implementations of this feature that I will be taking advantage of is if you're playing, let's say, Norway, and you want to make really heavy soft attack divisions, what I'll do is not make any infantry equipment or support equipment. I'll just put all my mills into artillery, and then I'll have some really awesome 7.2s that do lots of soft attack. And then everything else, I'm just going to buy off the market. All the infantry equipment, all the support equipment, all the trucks, all the trains, maybe even planes. I'll buy them all off the market. And then everything that'll be made domestically will be artillery. Maybe even AA as well. Isn't that a really cool concept? I think that's really cool. But once again, it's all going to come down to, is one, the AI going to add enough stuff to the market for you to purchase? That's really important. And two, will the AI sell it to you at a decent price to make it worth your while? Because let's be real, making it domestically is probably always going to be cheaper. Like researching domestically is always cheaper than using licenses, for instance. So it doesn't surprise me if this system might not feel worthwhile to begin with. But here's this. Oh, I've just thought of the biggest thing ever. Oh, shit. I'm just going to blow your guys' minds. What if you start the game with no military factories? Zero. None. And you have a full army within your nation that is made up of international equipment that you've gotten off the market. How cool is that? And to be fair, it's not even ahistorical either. As nations at the very start of the game do start off with a lot of foreign equipment. Achievement is going to be world conquest, but you're not allowed to make any equipment domestically. What do you think, guys? So there are two nations that are not getting focus trees or have not been mentioned to get focus trees, and one of those is Iceland. So far, there's not been a single nation that you can kind of release that gets released outside of 1936 and 1939 that has a focus tree, as far as I'm aware. I can't think of anyone. And Greenland too. Will Greenland be releasable? That'd be kind of cool, I suppose, but have a focus tree is a bit of a reach. And what would a Greenland focus tree even be, though? That'd be a big good question. But Iceland has not been mentioned as well. Iceland would be a worthy nation to actually have a focus tree, because it would just be kind of interesting to see if you could work with the Axis or work with the Allies. I presume you'd be working with the Axis, wouldn't you? Because you'd be rebelling against Denmark as such, wouldn't you? If I could gauge my excitement, I think the thing I'm least excited about is the focus trees, because once again, I'm over focus trees. I don't find them very fun. They're just kind of a nice mechanic to play with. However, they're not something that excites me. Then next up, it would be the Mayos. I think it's kind of cool that you can level up your industries, but it feels like a side gig. It's something you just do on the side. It's not something I'm going to care much about. It's going to be nice to take advantage of those bonuses and have a more integrated system when it comes to industrial designers. But overall, I'm not mad excited about that. The next one is kind of a joint first and second place, and that is one, the international market, I think like this mechanic is going to be incredibly fun if implemented correctly. Aka the AI takes advantage of it. And then finally, it's going to be these changes here. And probably the reason why this excites me the most, or joint most, is because I don't know anything about it. And I've been desperately screaming out on every single video, please update special forces, make them a little bit different. Give me some flexibility of how I should make divisions. This is technically the combat width rework that we had a few expansions back. That's what this is. Because support equipment is getting reworked. And hopefully, when it comes down to divisional specializations, I'm hoping that we're going to get divisions that are going to work more efficiently in deserts and every forests or mountains, for instance, to try and expand what special forces even means. And that, if that's true, which I'm speculating, excites the living hell out of me. That's going to make me so fun. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want more HOI4 Dev Diary goodness and speculation upcoming features, hey, give this video a click. This will give you all the content you're ever going to need. I love you. Goodbye.